Hey EverrettsVLOG, how you doing? Well, you said I hadn't really answered your video. But I have answered it. I answered it in the comments. Pretty much, most of it. Maybe I didn't answer in my response video to you. So, okay. And also, the main thing I didn't answer is this whole stuff where you're saying, well, I don't want to put you down. Now I realize, no. You didn't mean, there's two ways to interpret that. One is, I'm being blunt. Please don't think I'm insulting you. I'm being blunt. You weren't doing that, were you? That's the way I took it. But you were trying to insult me with your part about, we'll pause the video and rewind and that stuff. So we'll clarify that. I'm going to do it the boring way. I'm going to go through your video. Sound by, this is going to be long. I'm going to have to cut this up because your video is like a little bit over, almost 11 minutes. And I'm going to go through your video, sound bite by sound bite. And I'm going to give you the answers that you're asking for. I want to jump in right now, but no. I'm going to go make sure that I'm answering this video. Any tangent's going to be on topic. And I'm going to keep in mind that you really were trying your best to insult me. I mean, I can take things a lot more bluntly than you put them. But if you were trying to insult me, I see the problem. Because you think you were looking down on me. You think you were trying to explain down to me things you don't even understand. So far I'm taking all of your points into account, all the stuff about, oh, but things can be illusion. I'm a fucking skeptic. Look up Pyrrha. It doesn't mean something is an illusion. When you want to argue that appearances are not what they seem, you can't really say just, oh, they're not what they seem. What you have to say is, look, I have some more appearances. In other words, evidence, in other words, from your experiences. And it's your mind that's small. You list 5 senses. But what about hunger? What about thirst? What about our experiences of our own minds? These are all perceptions in broad sense, senses, especially things like hunger, which are literally senses. You want to talk about folk psychology, but you're borrowing the idea that there's just 5 senses. Well, that doesn't even make sense. We have nerve endings all over, dude. So, okay, let's start. I've got it queued up here. Oh, I have to do it out loud, I guess.
Your video on, well, it's just called Free Will Summary. Your video, which basically states out your position on free will. Your position is, of course, that free will, well, I don't know if you actually say free will exists. You say you believe in free will.
Right. I believe there's a phenomenon called free will, and then we're trying to explain it. Kind of like there is a phenomenon of the sun rising in the morning, and we're trying to explain it. Turns out it doesn't really rise, but it still exists, right? The phenomenon of the sun rising exists. It just has an explanation that turns out it's not really rising in the way that we think. I don't think that free will is exactly as we think. I don't believe in the folk psychology of free will. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
So, I mean, they're different claims. I mean, you think it's rational to believe in free will.
Yes.
Like. And the reason you think it's rational to believe in free will.
No, but stop. And I've said this. I just use the word free will because that's what people call it. That's a name. If you take that as a term, like a technical term, no. Because I don't believe freedom is, you know, it's just like there's nothing perfectly smooth if you look close enough. Freedom is relative. So I believe in willpower. Specifically, I believe in the will.
Is that you experience in your own life, the experience is very vivid.
Yes.
You're aware.
Yeah. For example, I can make predictions that I can't make about random objects. I can predict that within the next few seconds I'll have a pad of paper in my hands. Wow! Free will.
Of course, that these things could be illusions, but you don't see any good evidence that they're illusions.
I think there are a lot of illusions involved. For example, to use my analogy, the illusion that the sun rises in the morning. The sun still exists, the phenomena of the sun rising exists, and yet the sun doesn't actually rise. It just appears to rise. Why? It's a relativistic illusion. We are actually swinging out of the shadow of the Earth. It doesn't actually rise, and yet it does rise, and it's quite straightforward to explain the phenomena of why it seems to arise. And I've been asking you to explain the phenomena of why it seems that I can make a prediction that in a few seconds I'll have a towel in my hand. Wow, a towel! Okay, let's go on.
This sounds to me like a common theist argument.
Okay, that sounds to me like a lame argument.
And I know that I'm just being an asshole, right?
You were not doing a good job of being an asshole. I watched this again, realizing you were trying to be an asshole, and I got the picture.
I'm going to respond to that claim. I'm going to show you evidence, counter evidence that I'm sure you've never heard before.
I missed that part. That's okay, because I haven't heard exactly what you say.
I came up with.
But okay.
But, and I think, it should satisfy you. But you express, I'm sorry. Oh, shit. But, damn it. Okay, I'm back. You express a strong emotional attachment to your belief in free will, and for that reason, I think...
Okay, first of all, I do, and that's because I'm honest. I'm honest in that my philosophy uses elements of free will. All the important terms of my philosophy, my political philosophy of progress, they involve intentionally, because there is no such thing as absolute progress. Progress is defined by a will as a certain goal, a certain intention of the goal, and then you make progress towards it. So I'm not saying that because I have an emotional attachment, that's a good reason. I look for other reasons. That's why I'm discussing this issue, even though so far, I've heard no good arguments for thinking free will is just 100% of an illusion. There's not even a phenomena there. It's 100% illusion. I'm just being honest. Yes, I have emotional and, many reasons to believe in free will. But if I had any not to believe, that'd be fine too. I'd give it up.
You might not be swayed. But,
yeah, I haven't been swayed, but not because of my emotions.
For the sake of viewers, I'll go through the argument. Let's first, here's something you had to say about free will that, the way you phrase it even sounded exactly like reports of a theist or a Christian or a Muslim who has experienced God vividly.
Okay, well, you asked me many times, what about this direct 3D thing? Well, it doesn't appear like I'm in a 3D world because my senses have sensed themselves. They've sensed the organs. My senses, the mental aspect of my senses has sensed the organs, the material complement of my senses, and it does not appear to me that it's possible for me to be directly experiencing life. I do no thinking of this in terms of what appears trivially to be the case. It's in terms of looking very closely at what appears to be the case. For example, this eye gets two-dimensional information, and this eye gets two-dimensional information, but I seem to be in the three-dimensional space. Obviously, that is a model, because I don't have three-dimensional eyes. There's really no other option. And the ancient skeptics figured this out without much neurology or science on the fact at all, just from what you could pretty much almost common sense see by closing your eyes and testing your senses. Okay, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. I think you go into...
As they sometimes reportedly do, and I believe in some cases, that they do think they do experience these things, and it's not evidence, just like experience of free will isn't evidence. And both for the same reason, actually, and I'll get into that in a second. But here's
no, stop! Are you telling me you don't experience trying to choose things? Because you're saying, oh, what about religious people? Well, I don't have those religious revelations. When I've had revelations, I can explain, like, having been intoxicated. So, it's not the same. Yes, I believe some people had religious experiences they convey to me. I can explain those in other ways. But this is different because if every single person had a religious experience, that's what we would have to be talking about. Because every single person, and as far as I can tell, even it seems to be in the case of animals, has will.
From you, let's see if you can hear this.
Okay,
it's not going to get that on easily.
Boring.
I'd have to have a good reason to believe that will was an illusion. Because to me, It's not a vague thing. I experience my will and how I author my own mind daily, every day. It's a big part of my life.
I'm going to have a pen in my hand.
Sounds exactly like what a believer says.
That's 3 experiments so far.
But that aside, I still haven't given any counter-argument at all. I've just basically ridiculed you. So, I'm not really, I didn't make this video of ridicule you, so let me come with an argument here. First of all, let's get one thing straight. The fact that a pre-existing belief is not evidence or a demonstration of